Okay.
Very good. You're live, sir. Live on messages.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our April 20th regular board meeting. The only one, incidentally, this month. I'd like to welcome you all. We have been in executive session for an hour or so, so we're all warmed up. And tonight's meeting will be a little different in that we are going to dispense with our normal formal departmental reports, but not to worry, we have some other outstanding presentations for you, and we'll get those started right off. I think, let's see. Following the agenda, I'd like to a motion to approve the minutes of our regular meeting of March 25th. Do I hear a motion? Moved by Mr. Nash and seconded by?
A second.
Seconded by Ms. Davis. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any deletions to the agenda?
None this evening, correct? And haven't heard it done.
Okay, so we don't have any.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we forget to pledge allegiance or.
Well, we haven't been doing those because, well, because it's kind of a zoo. But if you'd like to, we can do it. Okay, any report of the superintendent?
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Kind of a long report today of what's going on. I'm afraid to say most of it's positive because in the COVID world, positive is taken on a negative meaning. So most of it's good news or great news. Let's put it that way. Kind of kicking off into some things, just a quick COVID update. We were pleased to welcome back our students to the buildings last week. We are finalizing our reopening plan, if you will, under the New York State guidance requirements. One small little hiccup, as you probably know, this week at Bellamy. Unfortunate situation, but fortunately with that, it was more of a quarantining requirement than anything else that caused us to have to go remote for a short period of time. And hopefully we will be through that. So Kids are happy to be back in buildings. Staff are happy to see the kids. I would say folks are cautiously optimistic that we're going to be able to make this work. There's obviously some concern with people doing things outside of work in school in the nice weather that may or may not cause some alarm. But all in all is off to a good start. And we continue to surge forward. Some things of note just for the district and the community here. Lead water testing has begun in our schools. Yes, the state has not removed the requirement to do lead water testing in all our facilities. It's been delayed for about 2 years now. We did start that process today at Bellamy, taking advantage of the fact that the kids are not there right now. So we will be doing our lead water testing in all facilities. Started that today, and we'll continue that until all 10 buildings are completed. Also, starting yesterday was the RFA capital project at the actual high school. The masonry contractor was on site setting up their scaffolding, and they will begin with replacing the through wall flashing above the health office, guidance office, the main office wing, the phys ed wing. They will begin with that part of the project. The second phase of the project, which is the pool and the flat roof over the athletic facilities at RFA, begins at the beginning of June. So it's nice to see contractors out and about working and some of those things getting repaired. Also, as a point of information, spring sports began yesterday. I was reminded after a 2-year hiatus of where to park my car at the district office, and being too close to the baseball field is a bad idea. Fortunately, nobody's vehicles were damaged yesterday, but as I was working in the pounding on the roof of the balls and the foul balls reminded me that it's probably best to park out front for the spring. So good signs that the kids are out and about and athletics are happening. So it's just nice to see kids being able to do things in school that they're meant to do. Another point of note, Mr. LeBaron and I have a conference call tomorrow with the Mohawk Valley Health Systems. We are working on coordinating a vaccine opportunity for the high school students at the high school sometime in the coming weeks. So we have that call tomorrow. Thank you to Rich Williams and the Mohawk Valley Health System. They, if you're not aware, don't remember, Mohawk Valley Health Systems was who was able to secure us all the rapid tests that we didn't use at one point, but it looks like we might need them. Barely remember graduation. And so they're coming through again with us related to vaccine opportunities for our high school students. So stay tuned for more information on that, but it is nice to know that we have someone that's trying to work with our students to help them get vaccinated if they so desire. The rest of my comments are pretty much, one more comment to make. The NAACP will be hosting a Meet the Candidates night coming up in the first week of May. I'm working with Jackie Nelson on that. The date slips my head at this time. I want to say maybe May 3rd, but I know the NAACP will put some information out about that. I have the date in my email and I just forgot to write it down before I started talking, but I will make sure that I help communicate that. So for any Board of Education candidate that's on the call tonight or looking to be a Board of Education candidate, if you want to participate in that NAACP event, Meet the Candidates, please stay tuned for that information. We'll get that to you. Going through some positive things. Once again, Rome City Schools were named the best community for music education. Thank you to our music staff for all the work that they did on that. In particular, Bob Verminski did a lot of work this year on the application. So kudos to our music staff, our musicians, our students, and our families that support the arts. It's always a prestigious honor to be named the best community for music education throughout the country. Also, a couple of weeks ago during spring break, Dominic Cangigliosi and Steve Mercurio. Stone. Thank you. I don't know where I got Steve from. I had too many names tonight.
Steve
His grandfather.
Stone Mercurio participated in the AFRL virtual challenge. Normally it's an on-site challenge at AFRL where teams of 2 students from various high schools around the region spend their spring break up on the base, and they're given a set of requirements and problems to solve involving math and science. I'm happy to say that Dominic and Stone finished 3rd at this year's AFRL, and that did come with a small scholarship for both of them. So congratulations to both the gentlemen. thank you for representing RFA. We appreciate that. Continuing along the good news and recognitions, Jonathan Denton of RFA and Shawnee Desai were named this weekend as the Utica, two of the Utica OD All-Stars. Each year Utica OD does an all-star event. So Jonathan and Shawnee are representing RFA. Congratulations to both of them, and we appreciate their representation of Rome in our community and RFA, and look forward to the great things we get to learn through the Utica OD All-Star program with those two students. Further recognitions, I want to recognize Director of Elementary Programs Dana Benzo and Joy Principal James Dano. This past weekend, Dana and James presented at a statewide conference, the New York Association for the Education of Young Children. They were invited to represent Rome at a statewide conference, presenting on meeting the K-3 standards through inquiry-based teaching. So helping kindergarten through third grade teachers learn how they can teach more like a pre-K teacher might teach. I appreciate Dana and James doing that. That was a Saturday presentation. They put a lot of work into it. And I want to recognize them for their efforts. It's always great to know when Rome is recognized on a state or national level. Shows that we're doing good things here. We've got good people working with our teachers and our kids. Let's see, the next one I'll go to is Vex Robotics. The Vex Robotics teams won the Northern New York State Championship this past weekend. Most people are not deeply involved in Vex Robotics, so they don't have a single state championship. They have two state championships. They have basically New York City and Long Island, which they consider to be the Southern State Championship, and the rest of the state is considered to be the Northern State Championship. So RFA will represent the northern part of New York State in the World Championships in a couple of weeks. So congratulations to Al Bangs, their coordinator, their coach. I don't know what the exact wording is, their supervisor, and to the team for all the work that they've done. VEX has been a strong program for us over the years. We look forward to hearing about their continued successes in the future. My last two recognitions tonight, I want to first take a moment to thank the NAACP and Jackie Nelson. Between the organization and the district, we have been working for the past several months on a memorandum of understanding, which simply states that the NAACP and the Rome City School District plan to work collaboratively to continue to further advance the ideals of equity and diversity and all things related to education, not just workforce, but curriculum. That we're going to continue the work that we've done with the equity committee that we have some board members on. And I'm happy to announce to the community and the board that between Jackie and myself, we've finalized that MOU and have a good understanding of where the two organizations want to go together. So I thank Jackie and the NAACP for their patience and their work on developing that. And we look forward to our continued successes and work together. And the final recognition I have today is for two of our board members. I want to recognize our board president, Mr. Paul Haggerty, and our board vice president, Ms. Tanya Davis, who have been acknowledged by NYSBA, the New York State School Boards Association, as receiving the NYSBA recognition this year for dedication to district and board functions. Paul has been designated as a level 2 board excellence award member, and Tanya's been designated as a level 1 board excellence member. So congratulations to Paul and Tanya. Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
With that long-winded, whatever you want to call it, I'll turn it back over to you. I just need a sip of water if you're going to turn it right back to me.
No, I think we'll turn it over to public comment. Any public comment?
I don't see any. I forgot to ask because we're off schedule this time. I'm sorry. Was there anyone?
Jackie Nelson?
Do we want to move her in?
Yes. Let me maneuver that. Oh, wrong one. All right, let me get to the right button.
Can you do it? Because I can do it right here. Hold on.
Looks like he's got it.
I think we got.
Oh, I don't see her.
Under Tom. It's under Tom.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
I think we got it.
Just gonna mute herself.
Jackie, you should be all set if you just unmute. I don't know what's happening.
How about now?
We are. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Jackie.
I'm sorry, I'm on my husband's computer, so that probably threw you all off. I wasn't thinking. Yeah, I just wanted to say a few words in regards to the importance of the MOU between the NAACP and the Rome City School District. We've been at this a long time, the NAACP, to try to work towards equity and fairness for all students. We've heard the promises before. We've been involved with committees through the years that ended with nothing happening. Now we find ourselves in a time where something has to be done and changes have to be made. We have to make things better. We have to have equity. We have to acknowledge the problems, the shortcomings, and come up with plans to effectively fix them. I'm encouraged by the progress we are making, the vision we have as we work with the Rome City School District. Make no mistake, we have a long way to go, and hiring minority teachers is a priority. We would hope that the teachers union would also help with this. Every child should be able to see someone who looks like them, teaching them, working with them, nurturing them. Every child. And while we are very pleased with the MOU, and we thank Superintendent Blake for his hard work and working with us to get that done, a MOU is only as good as the word of the parties involved. We will hold up our end, and we ask this board to hold up their end by allowing the administrators, the teachers and staff who have been working towards positive changes to continue to do the good work that they're doing. We can't afford a setback at this time, and we are concerned with this board and getting along with one another, and we're concerned that that will cause us to have setbacks. We all have to work together, and we all have to get along. And I've said this several times, there are wonderful teachers within the school district, wonderful staff. They just need the tools and support to make the positive changes. And I know that they're not going to like this, but I want to acknowledge a few people like Chris Brewer, Amanda Jones, and Superintendent Blake for working with us, and all the teachers and the staff that are on these committees that we formed that are actually doing the hard work. They're actually boots on the ground, getting the other teachers and working together. This is an exciting time, and we look forward to positive changes in Rome. So thank you all very much. The other thing I just want, a side note I wanted to ask about, I was wondering if there was any plan to address with the teachers and staff as how they're going to respond to the Derek Chauvin verdict that was issued this afternoon. I had read an article in the newspaper a few weeks ago concerning a teacher that was giving her personal views. And there are probably children within our school district that have been affected by the murder of George Floyd. And I was wondering if you had set a plan in motion on how they should respond and support the students that are affected. So again, in regards to MOU, Mr. Blake, thank you so much. We're so excited. We're going to get the good work done and, make Rome better for everyone. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Jackie.
So bad at them going backwards.
Peter, I sent you a message about that question.
All right. Hold on. I'll go with whatever's next. If we're good.
Okay,
I think
so that concludes our public comment section, and moving on to our work study session tonight, which will consist of presentations on the budget and on the transportation contract. And Mr. Blake, would you start that, or do you want to do the transportation first?
I'll leave that up to the board. The budget presentation is pretty straightforward. And if I know first student is here who we want to have a conversation with about this evening, and I believe that and from email correspondence that they are prepared to entertain some Q&A with the board if desired. So if my recommendation might be to do the budget first if they're amenable to that. That way we can do that. I think it'll be minimal Q&A.
Do the
on
budget first and then the
and
transportation.
transportation.
Correct.
That's okay with everybody? Jim, is that okay with you? Jim Woods?
Yes, it is, Superintendent Blake.
All right. Thank you, sir. So all of you from first student can grab a coffee or a water or take a nap, and we'll set an alarm for when I'm done doing what I got to do here. So give me a minute, folks, just to get the presentation up. And I will share my screen. All right, everybody. Once again, thank you all for your time this evening. I'm here again to present the proposed 21-22 Rome City School District budget. We do have a few adjustments from the last presentation, so I will highlight them as we go through, but for the most part, very similar. Following tonight's meeting, once the budget is adopted by the board, in anticipation that that will occur, we will do a video blog about the budgets for the community to be able to see the same presentation, but with more detail. For those people that really like numbers and want to up my YouTube clicks, I would appreciate that. Some quick facts about Rome. Again, our current enrollment just under 5,700 pupils. Our total expense per pupil is $21,628. Combined wealth ratio is 0.39300. That's up slightly from last year. 1.00 is considered an average wealth district or community in the state of New York. I always highlight the combined wealth ratio because generally in our budget presentations, we have to talk a lot about the New York State foundation aid formula. And it's important to understand that this combined wealth ratio is a big factor in that formula. We haven't needed to talk about that a whole lot this year, and we continue to not have to talk a lot about that in a negative way. So it's not as much of a factor this year, but something for the community to be aware of for the future. We are considered a significantly below average wealth district for the state of New York. Within our budget, instruction is 73% of all of our budget. Our graduation rate for 2020 was 82% as a district, 83% at RFA as a building. 26% of those graduates graduated with the Regents of Advanced Designation. We do have 4 schools identified under ESSA and a 5th school identified with a different marker under ESSA for next year. And these things are things, the next 3 bullets are things that we know about. Our homeless student population and English new language student populations continue to grow. Some years exponentially, other years somewhat in a slower fashion. Our arts, athletics, extracurricular activities, and advanced course offerings continue to be a significant part of our student experience and a goal for the district to ensure that we keep those stable and allow students access to those opportunities. And it's also worth noting that we have a strong community schools program here. I will highlight them in the coming weeks, but a prestigious national educational journal is doing an entire spread about Rome and their community schools program. I believe it's about a 12-page article. It's their major feature article coming up. So our community schools program has been phenomenal and continues to grow both in Rome and regionally. Despite some of the positive news that's come out of the world of finance in New York State over the past few weeks, we still have some challenges. The federal aid requirements will continue to be a challenge. While there is a nice pocket of money coming from the federal government, thanks to the COVID, the CARES Act, and the previous relief acts, there are a lot of strings attached to some of the federal aid. And there is a lot of hoops to jump through. So in the coming month, once we get through this meeting and next week, the district will start developing our public plan for how we expend those funds. But it's not as simple as getting a blank check. There's a lot of ways that that money has to be funneled and things that it can be used for and things that it can't be used for. So we need to be extremely cognizant in what we plan to do with that. As every year, there's continually rising health insurance costs that need to be on the forefront of all of our minds as we budget and plan. We all know that the physical condition of the Staley property continues to be a concern and something we need to address. The bargaining unit contract negotiations, we are currently in negotiations with all but one of our bargaining units, so that could have an impact on the future. As you will see tonight, our transportation RFPs have been out, and so that is something that we need to address in the budget. Our work on equity and diversity that we've just heard Ms. Nelson and I speak about. We have a fantastic thing going right now as we work towards improving those aspects of our district, but that does come with work, effort, and to some degree cost. So we want to make sure that we don't lose sight of that. We still have unknowns related to the reopening of schools, specifically for September of 2021. We do not know what that year is going to look like and what possible financial burden could come with that. The social emotional welfare of students and staff, we are looking to make sure we can address that for the remainder of this year, but more importantly, through the summer and for next year. Again, needs to be a budgetary consideration. The Every Student Succeeds Act and ESSA, by identifying schools under that act, there are certain requirements and things that those schools need to do. So that is something we always have to be cognizant of. There is a perceived learning loss due to COVID, and I will continue to emphasize the word perceived. As you read journal articles and a lot of educational journals, you'll see a lot of experts saying that people need to stop talking about students having lost something academically during COVID. While they may not have met all the curricular requirements, there is a lot that they did learn that we might not be aware of and or that we couldn't do at their ages as adults. So we need to make sure that we keep that at our forefront and make sure that we're addressing the student needs where the student needs truly need to be addressed and not necessarily always where the adults may think we need to address them. And then obviously health and safety in this new world and environment that we live in. There's always lots of things that can come up that we need to make sure we continue to address there. State and federal funding, this is a slide that we put up there last time. There were a lot of uncertainties last month when we met. None of this matters anymore, which is a good news. The state has reinstated the federal funding that they withheld in December. We do know that the Federal CARES Act money, we know what that number looks like for the district. Foundation aid has been significantly increased for this year, and the state has committed to a full restoration of foundation aid over the next 3 school years. So essentially what that could look like for Rome, if the state follows through with that and nothing changes in the next 2 fiscal years, is we could see in total about the restoration of approximately $14 or $15 million in state aid. And that's extremely important because the state foundation aid number, once that minimum base is set, you can only go up from there. You can stay flat, but you're not going backwards. So the next 3 years, including this year, are tremendous for Rome. Positive news on the concerns related to state and federal funding. This is another slide that, again, is no longer of necessity for us. We did a presentation last time about the amount of foundation aid that was owed to Rome. You can see we were the second most owed district in our region. And over the next 2 years, this will look like everybody will be 0% owed. We will all be 100% funded. Let's just hope that nothing changes in the state government over the next 2 years, that there's no going back on that. Quick reminder about where we've been for the past 10 years on revenues and expenditures. You can just kind of see the trends of these lines. There are some blips in the radar, but generally speaking, they tend to trend all in a similar direction. You can see how the benefits and salaries line up as expenditures versus the state and local contributions for revenues. The key moving forward is we take this same graph and we look into the future. You can see here where there's some changes. So this graph reflects the change in the state aid. If you look at the blue line right in the middle, next year and the year after, between 2021 and 2023, you can see a fairly significant steep increase and then it levels out. But over the next 10 years, we're projecting about a 27% increase in state funding, which is tremendous for us. That number traditionally over a 10-year span would be closer to a 12% total increase over a 10-year span. And then you can see how that also compares to overall expenditures over a 10-year span. The most concerning number, which I will thank all of our bargaining units for now, is that light green line. You can see over 10 years, we expect the costs associated with insurance and benefits to increase almost 70% over the next decade. So all of our bargaining units are aware of these concerns, and I thank them all for having conversations about what can be done to ensure that we remain stable for the future for our students. Expenditures per pupil. This slide shows all of the districts in Oneida County and the Madison Oneida BOCES. Rome is district letter P. So you can see where we stack up in terms of expenditures per pupil. We continue to spend wisely and continue to be smart with what we're doing with our dollars in terms of total money and where that is going. Another good slide for the community to be aware of. This is actual spending from the fiscal year of 2019. This is the spending as a actual spending compared to your budget. So in 2019, Rome was under budget by a greater amount than any other district in Oneida County or Madison Oneida BOCES. Again, this highlights the fact that the district staff, our business office, our leaders, our teachers, all do their best to make sure that we're remaining fiscally smart and cognizant and doing what we can to underspend the budget so that we aren't jeopardizing things for the future. So this is a real testament to the business staff, Dave Dridle, our business manager, Rob Mez, the assistant superintendent on that side, our whole business team, our administrative team, and our teachers for making sure that we're doing everything we can to minimize spending compared to budget. For 2021 and 2022, we are proposing a budget figure of $122,980,692. You can see how that breaks out in the three-part budget. 74% of that is in program, 16% is in capital, and 10% is in administration. This figure is exactly $2 million larger than last month, and I will get into where that number came from in the subsequent slides. Looking at the program budget for next year, this is all the same figures across the board with the exception of transportation for the 21-22 proposed line. We did increase the transportation line by $1 million over the last presentation, and that was simply due to the fact that we may anticipate some changes in transportation. We may see increased transportation needs relative to summer school options for students, and as well as possibly into next school year, not knowing what COVID restrictions would be. That number is still down almost $1 million from this year's budget. But we did increase that line by $1 million to ensure that we would not overspend our transportation budget allotments. Otherwise, fairly stable as you look through these numbers, and you can kind of see what the difference is from last year to this year's proposed budget and the difference in percentages. There are decreases amongst most of the categories. There is an increase in the occupational education lines. Those would be BOCES programs and looking to do some new things with BOCES next year. On the capital side, again, very similar sheet that you saw last month with the addition. If you look at the bottom, there is $1 million added to the capital reserve within the budget. So between the $1 million in transportation and $1 million in the capital reserve, that equates to the $2 million addition to the overall budget. The purpose of the capital reserve, this was established 2 years ago with the intention of when we had an opportunity to put some money there, it will allow us to continue to do capital projects without taxing the taxpayers for those capital projects. So when we do our next capital project, let's say In a normal situation, the taxpayers would need to find a way to cover $200,000 of that capital project. Instead of increasing taxes $200,000, the voters can approve to use the capital reserve. We would take $200,000 out of this 1 million, and the taxpayers would see no impact on their taxes in order to continue to maintain our properties and improve our properties. Aside from the capital reserve line, the rest of these lines are the same exact that we saw the last presentation. You have some slight increases throughout here and some decreases as well. Overall, there is a fairly large percentage difference from year over year. That's completely attributed to that $1 million capital reserve line. The last part of the three-part component is the administration. The administration line has not changed at all from the last presentation. You can see where the money here is allocated from last year's adopted to the coming year's proposed. Overall, the administration function of the budget is down slightly, 1.29%. One thing to highlight about this that's important to understand is people hear the word administration and they think about people like myself, principals, directors. A school board administration for the function of the budget is a lot more than that, and you can see that highlighted on the description. Professional development comes out of this. BOCE's costs, mailing costs, our PR department, all of our legal fees, anything in the business office, any fees, although minimal, that the Board of Education may have come all out of the administrative function, but overall slightly down from the current operating year to next year's proposed. One more breakdown of the total budget if you want to see side by side the 2019-2020 enacted budget, the 2020-2021 adopted budget, and the 2021-22 proposed budget. These are all side by side. You can see the difference from the current operating year to next year's proposed, where the differences are, what those percentage decreases or increases are. Again, you have some significant decreases in the contractual codes. And that's directly related to some of the COVID work that we have going on. And you can see where some of the increases are. Again, benefits continues to be the largest overall increase pretty much year over year, no matter which way you slice and dice that. The large increase you might see by percentage, the 47.4%, again, transfer to other funds. That's directly related to the addition of the capital reserve funds within the budget to start building that reserve and make sure that we can have those funds available so that in the future we do not need to tax the community in order to improve and repair our facilities. Everyone's favorite slide, balance in the budget. A reminder for folks that in New York State, school districts are required to provide a balanced budget to their communities for voting. Municipalities, state government, local government, county government, no other public function in New York State is required to provide a balanced budget aside from school districts. So we just showed you the what I would operationalize as a spending plan, the amount of money we think we need to operate the district next year. Now our responsibility is to show you where that money comes from for next year. We have 5 revenue sources for next year, and this is the percentage of where the revenue comes from. Last month, there was a portion of this pie graph that was 5% federal funding, and that has since been removed because we have about 0.25% of the revenue for next year will come from the federal government. All the other funds will come from state property taxes, our appropriated fund balance, other revenues, and our pilots. We are going to propose a tax levy for the 21-22 school year. The overall property tax levy that is proposed is $35,827,724. This is a difference of $668,034, or what is a 1.90% increase over the current year. One thing to note with the property tax levy is there are 2 functions of the property tax levy throughout the fiscal year for school districts. The first being what the voters approve, and the district is recommending that the board adopt this 1.9% property tax levy as what will be voted on in May. This would be the maximum amount of dollars that the district could collect in new property taxes for next year if necessary. However, the property tax levy is voted on and approved by the Board of Education in August. So right now, we do not know what our actual financials will be come the end of the school year. That happens in June and July. It is possible that come August, the Board of Education could say, we are not going to tax the community at 1.9%. We may do a tax levy increase of lower than 1.9%. The district did this a couple of years ago, if you can recall. So the 1.9% is what the taxpayers would vote on as the maximum amount that could be levied. But ultimately, the Board of Education determines the property tax levy in August. Local contribution tax on true. I highlight this slide because, again, this is all of the Oneida County School Districts and the Madison Oneida BOCES districts. A few years ago, Rome was District D in this chart. Now we are District F, and I highlight it to show you that thanks to the good work of the Board of Education and our business team, we continue to move this circle to the right. And tax on true is basically a measure of saying if you picked up your house and moved it to another district, the taxes would be comparable. So that's the way of measuring district to district on tax contributions. I'm proud to say that we continue to do good work to make sure that the taxpayers of Rome have a minimal impact as relation to our local counterparts. This is an analysis of the tax cap for the past 8 years. And I want to highlight, if you look at the allowable levy percent increase, which is the first column of numbers to your left, and the actual tax levy increase, which is that 2 columns over, you can see that the board and the district historically are taxing less than we're capable or eligible to tax. Cumulatively, when you look through that over the past 8 years, we have left $6,345,757 in the pockets of the Rome community. So that again just highlights the fact that we generally are not taxing to the cap, and we do our best to make sure that we can give back where we can when that August timeframe rolls around. Estimated revenues for next year, slightly different than the previous slide. There are some changes in the 20 and 21 projected revenues. If you slide down towards the bottom, you can see the miscellaneous revenue for this current year is projecting slightly higher. That is in relation to a BOCES Health Consortium dividend payment that we expect to see in the end of June. So that is increasing our projected miscellaneous revenue for the current year. You can see in the 21-22 estimated revenues, that number drops to 600,000. That number is essentially 600,000 in miscellaneous revenue is a good guesstimate 18 months out when it might come in. Historically, miscellaneous revenue could be more than that. So anything more than $600,000 is a win for the district. You can see federal revenues for next year are estimated in the $300,000 range. If you look to the 1920 actual, if you look historically, $300,000 is typically where that federal revenue number will come in. You'll see a significant increase to foundation aid and a significant increase to the reimbursable aids over current year to next year's projected. Those are both good things. Overall, if you look at the projected revenues for this year to the estimated for next year, a slight decrease, just under $500,000. But in total, our estimated revenue for next year is $114,138,258. That leaves us talking about projected tax rates. So if you look at the current actual tax rates for our 5 municipalities, projecting them out for next year, what that will look like. The equalization rate is placed in here for each of the municipalities, shows you the dollar change rate per $1,000 of assessed value. And the last column just kind of shows you where our percentage of our tax base is, where our community lives, and where that tax revenue does come from. This slide's probably a little bit more impactful and meaningful for most residents. This is basically helping you understand what your possible tax bill might look like. This is based on 3 assessed values, a home assessed at 50,000, a home assessed at 100,000, and a home assessed at 150,000. Those numbers are simply for ease of math, but generally speaking, you can see what that tax rate impact would be. If I'm just going to take the $100,000 home, estimated $33.19 tax rate, your tax amount for next year would be $3,319. If you remove the basic star reduction of $684, that leaves you a net tax, school tax due of next year, $2,635, which would be a $68 increase over this current year, which is $1 and change more per week than what we currently are collecting in school taxes. And that is if the board were to approve a 1.9% tax levy increase in the month of August. That could be impacted down the road. Factors that impact your tax rate, and I should add to this slide for once in 5 years, after I just mentioned the board can have a factor in your tax rate come the month of August. But state and federal aid numbers can always impact your tax rate. If those numbers go up, the board might decide to reduce that tax rate come August. The assessor's office has an impact on your tax rate as they are responsible for the assessment of the properties. A change in your assessment will affect your tax rate. The change in equalization rates, which is managed in Albany by the state of New York, we don't have any ability to affect the equalization rate. And changes in star exemptions. Again, that comes from Albany and the legislature and the governor. Those individuals have the effect on the star exemptions. They can all have an impact on your tax rate. If you're interested in learning more about property taxes and how they may impact you or your school taxes, here are 3 useful websites that you can go to, and you can access those through our district website. This presentation will be up there tomorrow morning. Kind of summing up a little bit by the math, again, our current proposed expenditure budget is $122,980,692. Our estimated revenues in the ballpark of $113,470,224. I believe that number is slightly low, if I can recall. There's a few slides ago, it was 114, so we forgot to calculate that. That's going to leave our anticipated deficit just under $9 million. Our local share increase could be $668,034. Allocating reserves and an allocated fund balance would bring our current deficit to $0. I will update these numbers before we post that tomorrow. In essence, the difference will be the revenue number will be slightly higher, the deficit slightly lower, and the allocated fund balance slightly lower. All positives, no matter which way you slice and dice that. And we have a balanced budget. No need to worry or talk about how do we get to a balanced budget. This slide just shows you again a summary of some of those totalities that we talked about. Slight increase in the overall proposed budget for next year, 0.3%. Revenues are up slightly, 1.38%. Tax levy increase at 1.9%. Projected fund balance used down 14%. That's a good trend. And an even better trend is the projected remaining fund balance at the end of next year. That number is, the difference there is up 60, almost 61%. So we're going in the right direction in terms of being able to make sure we've got money put away in the event that we have a catastrophic event that requires us to utilize that money. In summary, the budget this year for Rome and all districts is much more optimistic than recent years, and I think we all recognize that. It does focus on returning to school and providing those opportunities for our staff and our students to make sure that they're supported in their functions and in their responsibilities. This budget does not have reductions over the current spending year. It continues to utilize our reserves to balance the budget, however, at a much lesser number than we have in the past 2 budget cycles. The tax increase falls under the tax cap. The budget has flexibility to continue minimizing spending if needed. Back to that slide where I showed you where Rome has underspent our budget better than any district in our region. This budget provides that flexibility to make sure we can continue to do that, but it also provides flexibility to increase resources to our students and staff where and if needed as we get into the summer months and the beginning of next school year. So all in all, a very favorable budget for our community, our students, and our staff. When you go to the polls, aside from voting yes or no on the proposed budget, you will also vote on the Board of Education proposition. Currently, we will have 3 at-large seats open that will begin on July 1st of 2021. All 3 positions are for a 3-year term, which will expire on June 30th, 2024. Interested candidates must submit a petition on or before Wednesday, April 28th at 5 p.m. here at the business office of the school district. That is next Wednesday, 5 p.m. This year, completed petitions must include at least 50 qualified signatures. That is a change over previous years. That is due to COVID. The state legislature has reduced that from 100 to 50. And if you are interested and have not picked up a petition, they are available here in the business office of the Rome City School District. So when you go to the polls, you'll vote yes or no on the proposed budget, and you will select 3 names from a list at that time for the Board of Education. This is a slide I include every year, although not necessary because there is no real increase to the tax, the levy tax for Jervis Public Library. However, under Section 259 of Education Law, anytime the public library wishes to increase their funding from the community, it goes on the school district budget vote, and so we are required to promote that. I put this slide in there for 2 purposes. One, for educating the community on how the library tax works, but also to highlight the fact that the Jervis Public Library year over year does a wonderful job working within the funding that they have and is doing what they can to work with the community on their tax levy increases as well. Final reminder on the vote Tuesday, May 18th, 2021, from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. at our 10 different wards. There are some changes over traditional years here. First and second wards are at Staley Elementary, 3rd ward at Redeemer Church, 4th ward, Gansevoort Elementary, 5th ward, Sherrill Middle School. The 6th ward is at St. Paul's Church. 7th ward is the Copper City Community Connection, 8th and 9th ward at Stokes Elementary, and the 10th ward at the Westernville Library. These are for in-person voting opportunities. If you wish to vote via absentee ballot, you may do that. Contact the district business office. They will help walk you through the process of obtaining an absentee ballot. Unlike last year, all citizens will not be mailed an absentee ballot this year. It is a traditional vote year. However, you may vote via absentee ballot if you want. You just need to contact the business office and we will walk you through that process and take care of that with you. That being said, I say thank you to everyone on the call, to our Board of Education for your time tonight.
Thanks.
And I will open it up for a few questions if anybody has them.
Peter, Jackie posted and confirmed the date you were looking for earlier, May 3rd at 7 o'clock.
Thank you. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Tanya. The NAACP Meet the Candidates Night is May 3rd at 7 p.m. via Zoom. Anyone that has already picked up a petition, we will be contacting you to make sure that you're aware and getting you in touch with the NAACP so you can either confirm your participation or not. Thank you, Jackie, and thank you, Tanya. Any questions? Well, I will say thank you then all. Do you have a question, Paul?
I don't.
Oh,
I'm just,
man.
I should be smiling, right? Because
I
everything's
think I'm
coming
gonna
up
be the one that's smiling because it's been 5 years and I finally got to present the budget that was not overly controversial and I think people are comfortable with. So it's a good thing. Things are going in the right direction fiscally for the state. And it's Rome is going to be a very positive benefactor of that over the next 3 years if nothing changes in the state legislature. So let's just hope that we can continue to have budget presentations that are much more talking about things that we are going to be able to do and can do versus how do we bite our nails and hope to get to the end of the year. So.
Peter, I want to say that compared to prior years, I appreciate the time that you and Dave and Rob all spent, and Jody helping us through our professional development sessions to have a good understanding of what each part of the budget meant. And that was prior to understanding that we were going to receive some additional aid. And it helped us to all be able to make good choices, be able to support this budget, and be able to explain to our constituents why we're in support of this budget. So it was a much easier, it was time consuming for all of us. And I think everyone appreciates the work that went into helping us to be prepared for this budget season, because we did not know that it was going to turn out this positively while we were having those dialogues.
And thank you to the board for participating in those. I think everybody, to your point, found them very beneficial and collaborative.
They were.
Made for a much better budget season.
I think it's encouraging that the state legislator and also the federal government have a longer term horizon on these monies that they're identifying. You know, it's not just getting through the current year, which is positive, and hopefully it'll pan out like you described it, with us being back on our foundation aid calculated number within 3 years, which will really be a positive for education, since that foundation aid is where we get the bulk of our quote educational support from.
Agreed.
So very good. Well, thank you, Peter. And
You're very welcome. That being said, we will turn it over to a second presentation tonight. First student. Jim, are you presenting? I think I need to promote you so you can share your screen.
Yes, please. That'd be great. Thank you.
You are welcome. You should be able to share.
Okay. That came up.
While Jim is setting up his presentation, I will make just a quick introduction. He presented so fast, I'm going to forget their names, and I can't see their names on the screen anymore. But we have, as everybody knows, thank you, Jim. Look at you. I love it. We've been going through the RFP process, the district and the Board of Education. And we're at the point we reached the end of that, and on tonight's agenda, we are making a recommendation to award an RFP at the end of the agenda. Throughout that process, very deliberate process and involved process. I thank all of the vendors that submitted an RFP for their patience and their work with the district through the better part of the past 2 months. However, First Student is the district that is being recommended to be awarded the RFP. And we felt it prudent to invite their team for a quick presentation to the community tonight. Just an introduction, let folks know what they can expect and what we plan to work on. I believe that in collaboration with the leadership of First Student in the district, we do plan to have community forums down the road, more similar to the reopening of schools in August, where there's a better chance for folks to have a deep dive into a question and answer with them. But I do want to welcome Jim Woods, Brian Fitzgerald, Mike Wilson, and Faye Stevens, who I think most of the board has met in the interview process, but our community has not. So Jim, thank you for being here. And I'd be remiss if I did not thank Rob Meza, our Assistant Superintendent for Operations and Management, Andrew Thompson. I don't know if it's Andrew, but I call him Andy, so we'll go Andy Thompson, our Director of Transportation, and Brian Warren, our Transportation Dispatcher. The three of those gentlemen spent the bulk of the work on the RFP process, working with the vendors and doing that process. So I think all three of them, they've spent an enormous amount of time the past 4 months really working with legal counsel, developing the RFP, and then going through it to get us here tonight. So thank you, Rob, Andy, and Brian. And thank you to the First Student team for being here tonight. I will kick it over to you, Jim.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. President Haggerty, members of the board, and Superintendent Blake, we do appreciate the opportunity to be here. Appreciate the opportunity originally to even provide a proposal for your transportation services and to be considered this evening. We really do feel that First Student is a great fit for Rome City School District, and we've got a lot to offer. You know, a concern I have is that we've got a lot of information to talk about tonight, and I understand you've already gone through a presentation, and so out of respect for your time, we're going to go through it fairly quickly, try and touch on the highlights. We're happy to answer any question or to to come back and discuss anything that you may have a question about. But we'll try and move quickly, but by all means, ask any questions that you might have along the way. So Superintendent Blake obviously announced I'm Jim Woods with First Student. I've been with the company about, wow, I've been in the transportation business 41 years. I'm either crazy or I love it, and I do love it. 38 of those years with First Student. I really do believe in this company. I believe in what we do, and I enjoy what we do. And I think, like educators, when you work with kids and you believe that you are making children's lives better or safer, or giving them the opportunity to get to and from school in a safe environment, you can feel good about your job, and I do. Before we turned in our proposal to Rome City, we tried to do our homework, and we're going to get to know you over time as we if you choose us as your partner this evening. But in really trying to understand the district and be responsive in our proposal, and I can tell you that Rob and Andy will both tell you that we asked a lot of questions. They provided us with a significant amount of information because it's a complex system. It's necessarily complex because of all the moving pieces. So we tried to understand the district before we even proposed, and we could tell that there were some challenges that you were facing that we could help you to resolve. And some of those I've listed on the screen. Just, driver shortage, which is a national crisis, but it's disruptive when you don't have the same driver on the same route every day. We believe there's a great local team that's trying to do a great job, but could use a lot more in terms of support and resources. Really quality assurance, just knowing that buses are running on time, that the job is being done the way it's supposed to, the contractual obligations are being met, and so forth. We understand there were some routing and efficiency concerns. You're not really sure, are you running the right number of buses? Are you spending the right amount? Are there ways that you could make things more efficient or plan for the future with, perhaps population growth or population changes between schools, those type of things. And finally, transportation has changed a lot over the last 5 or 10 years. Technology has just exploded on school buses, and we can use that to benefit all stakeholders, and that's what we'll do. I'm going to give Faye, Mike, and Brian just 30 seconds each to introduce themselves so you know who you've got here this evening presenting to you.
Jim, we'll go from the bottom up and follow this. So it's Brian Fitzgerald. I really appreciate the chance to talk to you. And I'm our Senior Vice President in charge of supporting New York and New Jersey. And I'll be able to come back and talk to you about a couple other things here in a few minutes. But thanks for having us.
Mike.
Thank you for the opportunity here. I'm Mike Wilson. I'm the Area General Manager for Central New York. I pretty much run everything up and down the I-81 corridor. I've got about 14 years in the transportation industry, 3 with First Student, and the 11 years through the United States military and other transportation methods. So I've been working with the company for about 3 years. About a year and a half of that was as a location manager in Matzo, Alaska. And the rest of it has been as the area general manager here in Central New York. So I'm basically the guy that tries to remove the roadblocks for the local teams so that they can get the job done in an efficient way and service the contract the way that it should be.
And I'm Faye Stevens. Thank you again for inviting all of us, actually. Region Safety Manager. I cover all of New York. I have my team actually is in different areas in the state. I have a dedicated team for Central New York that is working with all of us. So we'll talk a little bit more about my background, but I have 30 years in the business, 30 plus years in the business, and have done a lot of different things with transportation. So I'm really looking forward to working with you.
Great. Thank you very much. Today's agenda I've got on the screen, but basically it's going to be all about how we plan to really resolve the challenges that we see, and really we want to improve transportation for the children of Rome and the parents and the administration and the school system. You know, it takes a world-class organization to provide world-class transportation. That's goes without saying. You know, for a student, we've been in the business for more than 100 years. Our oldest contract started more than 100 years ago in Newman, California, on a Model T Ford chassis, outfitted, customized to take kids to and from school. And we still operate that same school contract today, more than 100 years. And as you can see on the screen, we operate in 39 states. We do 5 million student trips every day. You know, the reason that we exist as a company is really all about supporting our customers, what we call school district partners. And we recognize your mission is really making sure that your students, the students of your community are prepared for their future life, that they're well educated, they understand their opportunities, and that they can become productive members of society. And really that's what we're all about, is how do we help you do that? And we do that by, in the simplest fashion, by providing the safest, most reliable way for students to get to and from school each day. We are a large organization. We are the largest school bus company, as you can see on the map. But one thing that we have learned, and we've learned a lot of lessons over 100 years, you can imagine. But one of the things that the keys that we have learned is that if we can't translate all of those resources and all that expertise into the local service and customize it to the local community, excuse me, then it really doesn't matter. So Brian's going to talk to us a little bit about how we translate that into the local community.
Yeah, dialing in a little closer on this. So this is where I come in a little bit. This is just a snapshot of New York. And as I mentioned, my role is to support our folks in New York and New Jersey. And yeah, as you can see on the page, right, we have a very big presence in New York. And really what I think is interesting is I think that enables us to do two things that really can help Rome. One is we have a ton of New York expertise. New York as a state with its, educational processes, transportation, it's unique, right? And there are some nuances to it. We have folks like Faye, I won't embarrass her later, who've actually worked for the state and safety, who know these things inside and out. So it really enables us to help you navigate through what can be a tricky New York backdrop. And the second thing that I think is important just about the New York presence is it really gives us a great support network. One example I'll give you is we had a customer down in the 87 corridor, it was Valley Central, by the way, who really ran into trouble and asked us to help them with a mid-year startup in January. And we wouldn't have been able to do it as a standalone, but we were able to pull in resources from around the state and within a month get them up and running as a startup. And that has, leveled off nicely. So that I think, in my opinion, is what's important about having such a presence in New York. Jim, dialing in a little closer, when you look at this, Mike mentioned this, and Mike's on here, and this is Mike's world. We've created a pretty tight central New York area with an entire support team that I'll talk about in a minute. So as you see on the map, Rome fits in perfectly with some of the other places Mike is supporting. And I think what that does is allow us to, really have some synergies. When you think about a startup here, we have local resources right in the 81 corridor that we're going to be able to bring in for startup and then beyond that. So I think that's important as we look at it. From a leadership perspective, I won't go too deep on this, but if you look at the bottom, that corporate leadership team, their job waking up every morning is to support the folks above them. When you look at the middle level of this, however, this is where I think it's important for us. This is that region and central area team. Faye and Mike are on the call. Melissa Reynolds is right in the 81 corridor. She manages HR for us in New York. Wendy helps us with finance. And then Dexter helps us with really some world-class maintenance. So that's the tight team that focuses really on New York and on Central New York, with Mike there at the core of it. Now, locally, our role here, what we can do if we're able to be your partner here, is we will build a team that is locked in locally, right in Rome. And really 3 ways to go about that. First is, we know that there are likely very good folks coming out of the incumbent. And our process would be to meet with every single person that has an interest in playing a leadership role in First Student. And as long as there's a fit there, we would want some feedback from the district as well. Obviously, you're gonna know folks and be able to be a part of that. But anybody that's interested, that's a fit that the district would recommend, we will have a long discussion and figure out how to leverage those folks. And then secondly, we have a broad internal team throughout New York and beyond, which allows us to have a ton of folks that may say, hey, I think this is a great opportunity for me to bring my leadership into Rome. And then third, if there's an opportunity to go external and find new folks, in the area that maybe are doing something different in transportation and want to be part of a Rome/First Student team, we would go about it that way. So stop me if I'm going too fast. I did want to talk a little bit about facilities. So we have been working this for a while, and our real estate team has partnered with Scotty's Hot Dogs, and you can see on the screen we have the location, as well as a lot of flexibility with the area behind it as we really dig into parking needs and hopefully have room for growth. And right now, our broker at that point has a purchase agreement signed on the property, and as we hopefully finalize things here with the district, that is where we'll be here. And I know you may have some questions on that. So I'll catch myself if I'm going too quick. I'm trying to be respectful of time, but that's a little bit of how we intend to set ourselves up right in the community with the location and the team we'll build and already have. Okay, Jim, I will turn it back over to you and Mike.
Okay. Mike, this is your slide. You're muted, Mike.
Do that every once in a while. Again, I'm Mike Wilson, Area General Manager for Central New York. I'm part of the local workforce that's going to be an integral part of the daily operations in the area. When we first started researching the area, we found that a large portion of the driver workforce was being paid less than the median. So we spent a significant amount of time and research to come up with a living wage for the drivers and monitors. And what we found in our research is that a 25-year driver in that area was only making about $17.50 per hour. And they were starting them out at about $14.50 per hour. And as you go through this, you'll see that we've moved the wages significantly with about a 20% increase for the drivers. So, and we will move through these a little bit quickly because we want to be a little respectful of your time. I know these meetings are long. So next slide, sir. All right, local workforce is important to the district and to First Student. The members of your community, the members of my community. I just live in Carthage, New York. I'm only 45 minutes from the district. I'm going to be involved in like I said, the daily operations of the Rome locations activities, from hiring a terminal manager, safety manager, staff. And our hope is to bring on 100% of the incumbent drivers and monitors. What we want is we want our people to be the people that you see at the grocery stores, out of the restaurants, your communities. And again, our intent is to grandfather each and every driver and monitor that applies for a position. Next slide. All right, so recruiting and retention, it's a very important line of work. We've got a comprehensive system that involves our corporate team members, our location managers, our hiring personnel that holds them accountable for the precious timelines that are important to applicants. So it's very vital to our ability to recruit. And later on, we can go through a little bit more of these if we move through this process and we're selected, and I can give you a more comprehensive detail on this. We can't do things the way that we have been doing them. We need to broaden our horizons when it comes to creativity and effectiveness in our recruiting program. So we have invested heavily in several different social media avenues, as well as taken on a recruiter that's specific to Central New York area. She's based out of Syracuse and travels to each and every one of my locations to make sure that our staffing needs are being met, or how we can further, I guess, pursue different avenues of recruiting. And as a company, we do hire more than 10,000 drivers every year. And one of the best ways I feel that we maintain staffing is that we engage with our drivers. One of the best ways to retain drivers is include them in company communications. We have a tool that each and every driver and monitor can download. It's called First Student Connect. That allows a communication flow from corporate down to the location. Every driver in the area is able to utilize this tool. Brian and I both utilize this tool as a way to communicate with our team members on a regular basis. And it's really been a critical tool for us to work through the pandemic. So utilizing stronger engagement, we're able to retain about 90% of our workforce every year. That leaves us, from the end of the school year to the beginning of the school year, that's when we start recruiting and training the 10% that we've dropped off. So I do appreciate everybody's time. Like I said, I'm going to be respectful and just move through these. And I appreciate everything that you guys have presented to us.
Thanks, Mike. So I'm going to talk really quickly a little bit safety, training, and compliance. So my team, I have a team of 4 coordinators, safety coordinators. Steve is actually the newest one on my team, and he's been with me for 3 years. So I have a very experienced team of safety coordinators. I also have some safety compliance supervisors. I have 4 of them as well. And this team works really well with getting everybody ready to go and starting up a new school year. By the way, we have all of our state certifications. Everyone on my team are school bus driver instructors, certified examiners, Smith system instructors. We're ready to cover anything with New York State specifically. So our SAFE programs, we use KPIs. We have all of the electronics that Jim was talking about earlier that help us to identify any areas where we need to change the way we're training or the way that we're educating our employees. When we bring someone on board, we have rigorous background checks. Everyone has to go through that full system in order to be able to be brought on board. We also, of course, will do all of the New York State things with the fingerprinting and the background checks as well. But before we even bring them into the program, we start that background check early with our own unit. We are constantly looking at drivers' performance, anything we can do to kind of, improve that or make things a little bit better. Right from the very beginning, though, our training program is incredibly extensive. We take people not just on the bus behind the wheel. We have a full classroom program. We work with our trainers to learn how to train adults, because teaching adults is a little bit different. So there's a lot of different pieces to our training program that has grown over the years, right? So we change it as we need to change it and make it cutting edge. We've added in things like turning and maneuvering clinics, which are a skill station where we take drivers through very specific skills and really help them to understand the dynamics of the bus and how it moves. In addition to that, we have a lot of specialized training. So, we have some unique passengers, and we want to make sure that our drivers and attendants are fully equipped to be able to work with, children from all backgrounds and from, any special needs, those types of things. So great programs that really will give them everything they need to be prepared to work with all of our children. And this is my baby right here. This is the thing I'm most excited about and most proud of, and that's our mobile manager. So this gives us the scoring of drivers, gives us a lot of really good information, and it's a live program. So if I'm speaking with a driver, I can have this little tablet in my hand, pull it up, show the driver everything that they're doing on a regular, daily basis. If we do have some issues that we need to talk about, I can pull it up, show them exactly where things are happening, and help them to address anything like idling or, and any of those kinds of dynamics that we can help them to become better, safer drivers.
I'm going to jump through a couple of technology items that we have and move on, and I'm going to let Brian close in just a couple minutes here. But I think that, one of the important things that we have accomplished over the last 10 years is coming up with a theme of transparency and accountability. We use technology extensively to really watch over what's happening and to make sure that we're doing the very best that we can do. This is our automated dispatch panel. We use this to basically to watch over the drivers that check in electronically when they go out to their bus and they do their pre-trip inspection. We want to make sure that every bus passes the inspection, that any driver that doesn't show up or a bus that doesn't pass inspection is replaced on a timely basis so the routes run on time. We use the GPS system that's on every bus. We've had them for about 15 years now. We use those to track not only on-time performance at schools and the pre-trip inspections that I mentioned, but we're also able to track things like fast braking and hard turns and those kind of things that are kind of habits that drivers may develop over time, so we can bring them into the office and with the tablet that Faye mentioned, that we can do the coaching to be able to make them a better driver, because if we get to them today and help them to be a better driver, they won't have an incident that means that we've got to take disciplinary action in the future. We not only use the tablet for coaching, but every one of our locations gets this report on a daily basis. We track 22 actionable key performance indicators on a daily basis. Goes not only to our location managers, but up to Mike Wilson's level at the area general manager and on up through the company. Every week, those KPIs are reported up. The locations, 500 locations, are stack ranked. And believe me, you do not want to be the guy at the bottom of that list, because you're probably getting a lot of attention and you don't want to be there. Extensive amount of technology. I mentioned the bus tracking that we do, so we know where the buses are at all times. And a part of the transparency that we provide for our school district partners is the district dashboard. So the central administration will be able to watch where all of the buses assigned to Rome City School District are at all times. And you can, in this interface, the administrator can click on the bus and drill down into the individual route. They can look at each stop, see what time the bus was scheduled to arrive, when it arrived, and ultimately when it gets to school. We also have a similar program for the parents of the district, what we call the First View Parent app, which they can track each one of their children that rides a school bus. And if there's any type of a delay along the way, the system pushes a notification to the parent's phone to let them know what the updated estimated time of arrival will be. And it updates every 15 seconds. So it's very accurate. We have just starting this past year, we have tablets for the drivers on the buses. Those will go in when we start up this fall. They not only allow the driver to do their pre-trip inspection, but we download the driver's route to the tablet, and it can give them voice-activated directions along their route. It's also going to have some additional features along the way, such as being able to do attendance for special needs students, which benefits the district through the Medicare billing, supporting your Medicare billing. First Feedback is out there. It's a web-based application where anyone, a parent, student, teacher, anyone can go on and they can provide a compliment, a complaint, they can ask a question, they can make a suggestion. The thing that's I think most unique about this is that in our internal reporting, we have a 24-hour turnaround time. So we know that anytime a parent or a member of the public puts in a question, somebody is responding to them within 24 hours, so that we're being responsive. Last thing I'm going to do before I turn it back over to Brian at the end here, I want to just mention First Planning Solutions. We've been doing electronic routing for about 25 years now. We have a team of individuals that handle our electronic routing. They do 30,000 bus routes every year. They are truly experts in all the major software, including TransFinder. And they will be heavily involved with Rome City School District, putting the routes together for us, doing an efficiency study to make sure that we're properly utilizing all the available time on the bus routes and the seats that are available on the buses, and just make sure that we're running as efficiently as we possibly can. Brian, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Jim. And just to add some levity to this, I'll tell everybody, you know, we obviously talked earlier and said, we've got to be efficient today. It's the end of the night. And I think what you see is, you know, we're just passionate about talking about the stuff. So I'm going to try to close us down here, but apologize for the pace that we're trying to be respectful. I think two things really close us down. One is from a community standpoint. You know, here's how we approach this, right? This is not just, hey, we're going to be doing the transportation, but, you know, this is going to be a place in the community. And, you know, pre-COVID, yeah, our locations wind up being entrenched in the community, you know, doing some things that you see on the slide here, whether it's figuring out what type of events or charities or things that are just going on in the community that we can help with. And, you know, and now, during COVID, it's kind of morphed a little bit into, you know, meal delivery or vaccination shuttles, right? It's been a little bit of a different world, but regardless of what's going on around us, you know, our approach to this, and absolutely our approach to Rome, will be to have this team become a real integral part of the community and partner with you on anything that, you know, we can do to make the community go. So I will try to close us down on this next slide, Jim, and I'll ask you, don't even bother reading the slide. I just, from a message standpoint, you know, to close with the key points. We didn't even get into our maintenance team, which we're proud about, but the key points to close today is, you know, if we can be your partner moving forward here, we're going to put all of our energy into building the strong local team, but we feel good that it's going to have the Mikes and the Fays and the Central New York and the region support behind it in New York. And it does provide us that extra ability to kind of bring folks in and help with startups and when it's needed. Yeah. Secondly, we do know how to do this. We didn't cover a lot about our extended plans. It's in the appendix about you know, how to do a conversion like this and how to get a startup going, and how to make sure we're respecting, you know, folks that we're coming out of an incumbent. So you know, we have done this a lot. We know how to do it the right way. So we'll make sure that happens. We're going to invest in the drivers. You heard Mike talk about it, both financially and emotionally and supportively, because, you know, that's what makes the difference in a driver crunch. And lastly, you heard from Faye and Jim, and you know, we have some world-class systems around safety, technology, maintenance, et cetera. And that includes some of the New York expertise. So, you know, personally, yeah, I came over to First Student about 18 months ago, was in transportation for about 25 years. And while I did enjoy that and the logistics, when I was making a career change, you know, what we do here at First Student, you know, that was kind of the thing that tipped it for me. And I mentioned to some people before, I think Rob and Andy, you know, my wife's a speech pathologist working with 3 to 5 year olds. She used to be a 5th grade teacher. I have 3 kids. One of them has special needs. So I'm pretty well versed and passionate about this. And I think what you do, the folks that are, you know, the folks on the phone here, the teachers, the rest of the educators, you know, nothing's more important. And you know, we want to be able to be a part of that. So this is an important partnership for us. I think it's the only startup we'll have in New York, which allows us to bring a you know, a mass amount of those support resources in to help with it, as we mentioned. And, you know, I'll be a big part of this. I'm up, you know, with Mike. He probably maybe more than he wants to see me every few weeks. I'm back up there 2 weeks from now again. And depending on what makes sense, would love to come to meet with the group if you know, we partner with you going forward. So I will close it down. We really appreciate your time tonight. We know you have a lot of things on the agenda, and thank you for your consideration of us being able to partner with you. So I'll turn it back over. I don't know if it's Rob or if, you know, where we go from here, but thank you for the time.
Thank you, First Student, for your presentation. I wanted to let you know that in addition to the Board of Education and our local staff, we have a little bit of a virtual world out there tonight. So a lot of our community has also heard your presentation and gotten to know you a little bit better. And we also look forward to working with you in the future. Peter?
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
I guess, do the board members have any questions or?
I got one question. If you have a shortage of drivers, how would you folks handle that?
So I can start that, and Mike, if you want to jump in. Obviously, as everybody comes back to full speed here, which is what's going on, after the last year, I think what's happening around the industry is you're seeing that there is a shortage. What we've been doing is, we do a few things. One is we do use that support network because it's different in every location. So we currently in New York have locations that are frankly fine, and others that have struggled a bit. And so we'll start moving folks around to support each other. Secondly, what we are doing right now is frankly, we've reevaluated all of our systems, our sign-on bonuses, referral bonuses, and we have made some very aggressive changes to react to a little bit of a supply and demand problem in the industry. So those are a few things we're doing. And then, Mike mentioned it earlier, we work really hard to make sure that you don't forget about retention, right? So we're also putting a lot of energy and effort into our existing drivers so that, we can slow anybody that, maybe was considering retirement and wants to work a few more years because of the work culture that they're in. So that's a few things. I don't know, Mike or Jim or Faye, if you want to, anything I missed.
I don't think you missed anything. I mean, we are investing in the individuals that we have at the locations right now. They are our primary source of advertising too. So we're trying to incentivize those individuals to bring in their friends by offering, referral bonuses, by offering sign-on bonuses to the individuals they bring in. We've got several programs. And then, as I said, we've got the Central New York recruiter. We've got a corporate recruiter that we have calls on with these critical locations to try and remove the roadblocks that are in the way for the recruiters and for the teams to be able to hire. So we do have some requirements on ERCU, which is our hiring system, where anytime there's an application, it's got to be viewed and moved within a certain number of days. We try to give a new applicant 2 days to view and move to the next stage and bring people in as quick as possible for interviews, see if they qualify. And if they do, then we make job offers and move them through the process. So from the time that they apply until the time that they're hired and trained is about a month and a half time frame. So we've got a lot of programs in place.
And Mike, Jim, I was going to say one thing, Jim, is, Mike and I might have skipped. I mean, you also have to react to the economic realities. So we've obviously in this bid for you have aggressively adjusted what the pay rates are. And frankly, we've done that in a lot of existing customers as well to respond to what's a different economic backdrop.
I think a different or differentiator for First Student over anybody else in New York State, we operate about we've got about 4,500 drivers. We have a group of what we call travel drivers set aside in our Wallkill location. It's 40 people that are not assigned to a regular work assignment. We move them around the state where we have shortages and where we need to help out. And in fact, when we got the Valley Central contract for 75 routes, those 45 people were key to helping us start that up in a short amount of time. So nobody else, I can tell you, is sitting on 40 extra drivers.
I guess that more answered the question. I really more referring to, some morning comes in and you got 10 people calling in, they're sick or whatever. And how you handle, I guess you're kind of explaining it right there. So
yeah, I mean, everybody, we generally shoot for a 10% bench. So, we got 10% extra people, and that's what we track week to week. So when the KPIs go around, the driver supply is a key item that we follow across the company. And if you fall below a certain threshold, you get extra help from the talent acquisition team. But here in New York State, better than most areas in the country, we've got those 40 extra people. So if we got that short, we would bring in the outside people.
Okay,
Well,
thanks.
to further answer your question, that is one of the things that we do struggle with. I mean, people do call in sick, and I have the ability to be able to ship, like Jim said. So if somebody calls me and say, "Hey, man, I've got to have 5 drivers immediately," then I start pushing drivers from Watertown, from Auburn, from Skinny Atlas, Syracuse, wherever I need to push them from, to try and help fill those gaps.
Okay.
So you're going to be replacing a company that essentially was born here, and in that sense, provide a lot of comfort to people here in the local community. What can you say to members of the community that might be a little nervous about your company and the type of community outreach that they might want from you?
Yeah, and I could take that. I think, as we mentioned before, right, this winds up being everywhere that we are winds up being a very entrenched local business that just has kind of a support network behind it. And I fully believe that'll be no different in Rome. We'll wind up with a very local touch here with the sites and the leaders that are on site and the drivers and the monitors that are on site. And I will tell you, and a commitment is we also recognize what happens sometimes when an incumbent gets replaced with someone new. And, we have some really well-developed processes to treat that with the utmost care and try to make sure that, folks that might be nervous right now are going to have every opportunity to still be providing service with First Student. And without getting into more details, Jim, there are ways that where as soon as that is appropriate, we would be able to work with the local teams on how to get that moving and treat all those folks the right way. Jim, you want to add anything on that, or?
Well, I can tell you, starting out in the business as a school bus driver in college, school bus people are unique. I mean, not many people want to sit in a vehicle going 30 miles an hour down the road with 40 screaming kids behind them. You got to love what you do, and that is true. I certainly respect that. That family business was there for a very long time. I started out in a family bus company before we were eventually bought out by First. So I appreciate that coming from a family background. But bus drivers are a special group of people. They do it because they love kids, and they love what the contribution that they make. Our people will be very much the same as that. As like Brian said, very much a part of the community. They'll be the ones that are telling us, where we should be helping out in the community, whether it's a school supply drive or something like that. And quite frankly, that family, local family business is not there today anymore anyway. But the people still are. And those are the people that we're going to want to have join the team and to work with every day.
Is it my understanding you're going to be hosting some community forums leading up to the next school year to help answer some questions from the community?
We will. One of the things that we do to help engage is typically there's a PTA or PTO or some type of community organization. We'll want to get out there and meet. We typically provide buses at kindergarten orientation and those type of things. And so we'll have a presence in the community. And we're going to want to get out and meet with the incumbent employees as soon as possible as well. And just answer as many questions. The worst thing we could do is allow, misinformation to get around. We want to get the facts out there, and we got a great story to tell. So we're proud of that, and we'll take as many opportunities as we can.
Thank you.
Very good. Well, thanks again, First Student. I think we need to move on in our agenda. We appreciate you being with us tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Board members, how are we doing?
Great. We're about halfway through. so we're doing
Coffee,
good.
anyone?
Okay, if there's no objections, we'll press on to our consent agenda, which is on pages 2 through 5. Hopefully we had a chance to look that over. So resolution to accept the consent agenda. That upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the consent agenda be accepted by the Board of Education. I move the resolution. So I have a second by Mr. Malachi. Any discussion? Comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda is passed. Moving on to the regular agenda, which is starts on page 6.
As a quick point of reference on the regular agenda, the item number 5 needs an amended budget figure number. We did not post prior to the meeting the updated number before finalizing that figure. So that number should be 122,186.92. So when we get to that motion, we just.
986. It's 980.
980.62.
980.
Let's change the
Okay.
zero.
So just change the, okay.
122,980,692.
Okay.
When we get there, we gotta make an amendment, just so you're aware.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's what's on my agenda. Regular meeting agenda, finance, Mr. Nash.
Yes, action item number 1, resolution to approve cooperative bidding. Whereas it is the plan of a number of public school districts and the Madison United BOCES during the 2021-2022 school year to bid jointly for purchase of various types of computers and technology commodities. And whereas the Rome City School District is desirous of participating in the joint bidding of the commodities as authorized by General Municipal Law, Article 5-3, and whereas this Board of Education has received and reviewed the cooperative bid procedures governing its right and responsibilities should it elect to participate in the joint bidding of the commodities, and be further resolved that in accordance with cooperative bid procedures, the Board of Education agrees to award bid purchase item purchases according to the recommendation of the BOCES if such award is in the best interest of the school district. I so move the resolution.
Moved and seconded by Mr. Malachi. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Yes. Mr. Nash.
Action item 2, resolution to approve Madison United BOCES administrative budget. Resolved, the Rome City School District approves the 2021-2022 tentative administrative budget of the Madison United Board of Cooperative Educational Services in the amount of $5,773,568, funded by $1,156,861 in expense by components, plus $4,616,707 in earned interest and other miscellaneous revenue, and shall so allocate as a contingent expense its set share of said administrative budget as a portion in accordance with section 1950 of the New York State Education Law. The 2021 administrative budget expense for all components was $1,132,845. 2021-2022 administrative budget net expense for all components is estimated at $1,156,861 for a change of 2.212%. I so move the resolution.
Moved and seconded by
Second.
Ms. Davis. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
Action item 3, resolution to approve YMCA agreement. Resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby approves the agreement between the Rome City School District and the YMCA of the Greater Tri Valley for the virtual learning before and after school program and a virtual learning program for Rome Free Academy students at the Rome YMCA. I so move the resolution.
Moved. Second.
Second by Fitz.
Second by Mr. Fitzpatrick. Any discussion?
Yeah, Peter, do you know what the efficiency of this program is? Because I haven't heard good things about it.
Yeah, right now, I know they're still trying to search for students to participate. I think early on, the participation was pretty high. I spoke with Bruce today about it. They're gonna double down their efforts. We're doing some PR communication for them, working with the high school and middle school to try and reach out to those complete remote students. So I think it kind of ebbs and flows, but I do know that they're a little short on students right now.
Okay, but the success of the program, is it worthwhile to continue?
I haven't heard that it's not successful. I know that we're trying to build a partnership with them for the future as well. There is a caveat in New York State law that will allow students to get phys ed credit through a local gym if you can build that partnership. I know Chris is working with the Y and that we just started that process this week. In anticipation that remote learning is going to stay, I think we're trying to do our best to make sure that a family that needs a place for their child to go during the day has that through the Y.
Okay, and it's talked about before and after school, not during the school.
Correct. So they have a little bit of, they have both options. They keep the kids from the beginning of the day all the way through if they need to with the remote, and they have a before school and an after school program if necessary for families.
Okay,
All in favor?
All right.
aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
Action item 4, resolution to adopt amended budget calendar. Resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the 2021-2022 amended budget calendar be adopted by the boards of education. I so move the resolution.
Moved and seconded by
Second.
Mr. Fitzpatrick. Any discussion of the calendar? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
So do we need an amendment on this or like? We should have an
Yes, I'll
amendment?
do a formal amendment.
Okay, so I'll read it and we'll change that afterwards. Action item number 5, resolution to adopt the 2021-2022 budget. Resolved that the 2021-2022 budget proposed in the amount of $120,980,692 be adopted as 2021-2022 budget. I so move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Ms. Davis.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the amount of the budget from 120 million to 122,980,692.
I second that.
Okay, the resolution, I have that number in my,
The draft agenda for the board was different than the final agenda.
oh, okay, I'm using, okay, yeah.
So that costs.
All right. Jessica, all in favor of the agenda?
Did we have a second? Do we have-
I seconded
fine.
it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Again.
We're voting on the change in
Right,
dollar
versus the
The
value,
amendment. Yeah.
the amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good, passes. Now voting on the resolution itself. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Carries.
Action item 6, resolution to adopt the property tax report card for the 2021-2022 school year. Resolved that the Board of Education adopts a property tax report card for the 2021-2022 school year. So move the resolution.
Moved and seconded by Mr. Malachi. Any discussion? We have copies of that were provided. If no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good.
Action item 7, resolution to extend the deadline for payment of property and school district taxes in response to COVID-19. Whereas the New York State real property tax law permits the Board of Education to pass a resolution delaying any tax interest and penalties for 30 days, and whereas the Rome City School District Board of Education recognizes the economic hardship caused by COVID-19. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education of the Rome City School District as follows. 1, the property tax and school district tax payments deadline of April 30th, 2021 is extended to May 31st, 2021. 2, any property tax and school district tax payments made between April 30th, 2021 and May 31st, 2021 will not be subject to interest or penalty. 3, this resolution will take effect immediately. I so move the resolution.
Moved and seconded by Ms. Davis. Any discussion?
The first is actually 31 days ahead, not 30. I just noticed that.
Not sure.
Yeah,
exactly.
okay, yeah.
The first whereas, the first
It's-
whereas.
It's May 31st, not May 3rd, I think.
No.
That already been made. I should be
Come
looking
out
at
there,
the
Paul.
agenda.
Okay, what Paul's saying on the first whereas, it says 30 days, but it's actually 30.
It's 31.
So you want to make that amendment, Paul?
Yes, let's amend the date to be May 30th rather than 31st.
No.
No, we want to change the 30 days.
Problem is, I don't know that we can do that because I think that's what the statute says. The statute says 30
Oh,
days.
okay.
That's whereas clause is saying. It's not,
Okay.
it's just informative. It's not necessarily substantive.
Wait, but is that what we're doing? Because the deadline was extended in the spring and it was much longer. We did this,
Correct. We extended 2 months in the spring and this year. we're only
so I don't
extending
think
1
it's 30 days. What date did the city adopt? Does anyone know?
month. Should be the same date. You try to do this jointly.
Right, so that's the question of whether we're doing 30 days or the 31st.
What's the section?
Sorry, I brought it up.
Thanks, Paul.
Welcome. Already made mine.
I believe it's traditionally the last day of April for the collection of taxes, and the extension is for the last day of May.
It's been. So it
My
reads,
recommendation.
The draft was
would be-
May 3rd, but Patty changed it to 30.
My recommendation would be, if you need to change the 30 to 31 days, you can do that. And if the May 31st is wrong, you have another meeting to amend and fix that
To
by 1
31st,
day,
yeah.
if technically necessary.
okay, does anybody want to make that change? Or do we want to vote on it as
I
written?
think our.
The Sentinel
in-house
article
counsel is looking at
says
it.
the city and the school district extend the tax deadline to May 31st.
Where's that from?
That's from the Rome Sentinel.
There's a reference to a specific section of the real property tax law.
Hold on.
And May 31st actually is holiday.
Oh, for the love of Pete, Paul, you're full of it. Paul.
Yes, it'll actually be extended to the next day.
They just.
Oh, no, it's right here. Residents can send their property tax payments to Rome City Treasurer's Office, or they can also be dropped off the night of the depository on the north side of City Hall by 8:30 a.m. on June 1st.
Right. But that's procedure, but
The deadline doesn't change.
I think we just go.
Yeah, the whole deadline is again anyway. It's Saturday, Sunday, holiday.
Yeah, let's just go with.
So people really should be doing it on Friday anyway.
They do them on Tuesday.
If they May 31st or in the 31st or in the event of a holiday to the next, the following business
No,
day.
that's always done that way, though. The 30th, because if it falls on a Sunday, you get the next day to read. If it was April 30th was a Sunday, or a Saturday or Sunday, the taxes wouldn't be due until that Monday.
Right.
Okay. So that's just understood.
That's
Tuesday.
That's just procedure.
Okay, so May 31st is, so the correction is 31 days in the first paragraph, right? I'm so confused.
Sorry, brought it up. It's probably moved anyway.
I'm okay with leaving it as is.
Okay, so we're voting on it as is.
As is, sounds good. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Yes.
Action item H, resolution to dissolve extracurricular accounts. Resolved that the Board of Education, upon a recommendation of the district treasurer and the RFA building principal, hereby approves the dissolution of the following extracurricular accounts upon establishing the club as inactive and moving the funds to SAS Club at RFA. And I guess it's the RFA Travel Club. So move the resolution.
We have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Peter, can you
Any discussion?
clarify this? I
Yes,
mean,
so-
does
so
this
the
mean there can
travel-
never be a travel club again, or?
No, what this means is the travel club has money in their account, and they are not an active club right now because they cannot travel, but there are students that, and families that want their money back. by law, an inactive club cannot disperse money from their account. They have to dissolve the club, formally dissolve the club, transfer the money to another club, and then that club can disperse the funds. So essentially what's happening here is the travel club funds will be transferred to STAS. STAS will then refund all of the students that have money in a travel club account, so that all the students get their money back. If and when there's a time when students can travel again, the club can be reinstated.
Excellent. Thank you for
This
clarifying.
is simply a mechanism
That's a
to
great
give money back to
explanation,
the kids
Yeah.
and the families.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Just, I don't believe we have any discussion items. And just our next meeting will be Tuesday, May 11th at 10 a.m.
Get on.
Yeah, I have no idea what you said.
It's a little bit of feedback.
We don't,
He keeps undoing it. It's kind of,
okay, so we don't have any reports on under facilities or educational programs. I would call your attention to the fact that brewers go out there.
His name is out there.
I'm here.
Hi,
hi,
Chris.
Chris.
Hi, everyone.
Give you some credit for all the advertising of all these activities you've got going. So if you could very briefly just say a couple of words about those, appreciate it.
No PowerPoint.
We're going to be starting our Pride Walks to the schools with the Board of Education starting on Monday at RFA. And I think we have one more that week. We're kind of out the rest of the week because of state testing at the elementary schools. And then we start that back up the following week. The principals are very excited to show you some of the things that are happening in the classes. We'll go in and out of some of the classrooms so you can see firsthand what learning looks like, both remote and in person, and how teachers are handling that very well at this point. We also have a field trip. Karen and Paul and I will be going to OHM BOCES to take a tour of the P-TECH program that's going to be available to our current 8th grade students. We're looking to have some of our 8th grade students sign up for that program. And that program will allow those students over the 4 years to earn a bachelor's degree before they actually earn their high school degree going to OHM BOCES. We're also looking to hopefully bring that back to Rome, to MVCC campus, so that there's a P-TECH right on our campus. VBS is also going to be joining us that day. They've got a couple students going over there as well.
And that's the 23rd, right, Chris?
Correct. And we'll also, I've got to set up, we've got an atlas for the Board of Education. Anyone that's interested, I'm going to try to set that up for us next week. I'll send out that calendar request. And I also had another calendar request to view the Amplify Science program. Amplify in 2 weeks is going to do a small presentation for any board member that's interested. I've sent that invite out already. And we'll also get to view the sample resources that they've sent us. I'll have some more updates probably tomorrow or the next day in my updates for you. Thanks.
Very good.
Chris, can I just ask on the Pride Walks, what are you anticipating board members that can go to, what are we actually going to be doing?
Yeah, so we'll be at the high school and the middle school. We'll meet up with the principals there. They will take us on a tour of the building. We'll get to go inside some classrooms to also see what's happening inside the classrooms. I'll be able to explain some of the curriculum materials that we're using, especially at our elementary level. We'll get to see the reading program, probably the math program in action. We'll start those at 9:30 at the elementary. That gives the principal some time to get everybody settled and be able to go on the tour with us. I anticipate them being about an hour and a half to approximately 2 hours, depending on the questions that we might have for each building.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Very good. Thanks, Kristen. You've also on your website there got a lot on the various testing activities that are ongoing. this spring, it's going to be a lot of evaluation and opportunities for the students. Okay, thanks for that. Moving on to people operations.
Yep. Action item 1, resolution to appoint coaches. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby appoints the following coaches with a prorated salary to be determined based on the memorandum of agreement with the union. Please see the names, positions, salaries, and effective dates as outlined on the agenda. So moved.
Resolution's been moved and seconded by Mr. Nash. Any discussion?
I just want to mention to the prorate on that, this is the one season that they're looking at a full season, right? Or as close to as possible. Isn't this extended through June 30th?
Yeah, it's as close to a full season out of all of them there is.
Okay. Just so we're prepared if those numbers look different at the end of the year when we.
Yep, no problem.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Lee.
Action item 2, resolution to appoint non-instructional probationary. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby appoints the following non-instructional positions. Again, names, positions, salaries, and effective date as outlined on the agenda. So moved.
Moved and seconded by Mr. Fitzpatrick. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Action item 3, resolution to change hours. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby changes the following employees' hours. Sherry Clark at RFA from food service helper 5 hours a day to 5.5 hours a day, effective 4/21/2021. So moved.
Moved and seconded by Mr. Nash. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
Action item 4, resolution to appoint
Josh, Lee.
Her sound went out altogether.
And she doesn't hear us either.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there she is.
Hi, Lee. Probably doesn't. How can we get her attention?
Go ahead, Joe, you got your glasses.
We're not hearing you, Lee.
We lost you for a minute, Lee.
Do you need me to read the action item again?
Yes,
You're
please.
back, yeah.
You're back.
Sorry. Action item 4, resolution to appoint sports personnel. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby appoints the following personnel. Name, position, salary, and effective date as outlined on the agenda. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Ms. Davis.
Just a question. We keep getting these. Is this something different or it's because it's a new different season or?
Yeah.
Different season, each season that we reappointed for the different sports. Yep.
Anything else? All in favor?
For someone, for somebody that may know, how long has Mo Herb been doing this? I know he's been doing it for at least 30 years.
Longer than Mr. Haggerty's been on the board. But it's close.
Longer
Quick.
than Haggerty's been on board.
I think we passed that.
Okay, sorry. Action item 5, resolution to grant tenure. Be it resolved that upon, I'm sorry, is there talking?
Yes.
We weren't sure
We're
if we
background. I
passed
don't know
it.
whether we voted
Just
on
keep
that.
going, Lee.
Okay. Resolution to grant tenure. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby grants the following tenure. Stephen Jones at RFA in science, effective 4/14/2021, and Aaron Decker at John Joy Music 4/23/2021. So moved.
Moved by Mrs.
Second.
Lawson and seconded by Mrs. Davis. Any discussion?
Thank you and congratulations.
Yes, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations.
Action item 6, resolution to accept retirement. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby accepts with regret the following retirement. Patricia Thomas, teacher assistant at Staley, effective 6/25/2021, and Dorothea Izzello, PC specialist at Staley, effective 7/15/2021. So moved.
Moved and seconded by Mr. Fitzpatrick. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you. Congratulations.
Yeah, with regret.
And we are short.
Action item 7, resolution to appoint instructional probationary. Be it resolved that upon the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby appoints the following probationary instructional candidate: Nicholas Devens, school counselor at a BS 90 step 4 plus MS, salary $55,879, effective date 5/10/2021 to 5/09/2025. So moved.
Moved and seconded by
Second.
Mr. Nash. Any discussion?
I'm sorry, can you clarify again? Is this a specific school or?
He'll be at State.
Okay.
It's titled a floater position, but the home base is Staley.
Okay, that's why I was confused, because we had talked about both. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morton. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carries.
Action item 8, resolution to appoint teacher assistant. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby appoints the following teacher assistant: Jenny Tier, teacher assistant, $16,276, effective date 4/19/2021 to 4/18/2025. So moved.
Moved and seconded by Mr. Fitzpatrick. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Action item 9, resolution to terminate probationary teacher. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby appoints the termination of the probationary employment of the teacher Emily Rieger, effective June 30th, 2021. The superintendent or his designee shall promptly notify the employee of this decision. So moved.
Moved and seconded by Mr. Malachi. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Action item 10, resolution to abolish position. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby abolishes the following position: building maintenance helper, first shift, Monday through Friday. So moved.
Moved and seconded by
Second.
Mr. Nash. Any discussion?
Yeah, just, the personnel committee or people operations discussed this, and we were okay with abolishing in one position, and then the next resolution is going to be creating the new one. It gives them more flexibility and saves them some overtime.
I'm going to abstain on these 2 items
Okay.
to avoid any step conflicts.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? One abstention? Yes.
Action item 11, resolution to create position. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby creates the following position: building maintenance mechanic, first shift, Monday through Friday. So moved.
Second shift.
Oh, sorry.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Nash. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And
Abstain.
one abstention.
Go ahead. I don't know if Jeff Martin had anything he wanted to discuss from personnel.
Don't have anything I can discuss at this point from personnel. We've been busy. People operations committee's been running smooth. Appreciate the conversations we can have in that forum, and then bring it to action items at the board. So it's been working well, and hopefully you've been finding our minutes meaningful, and appreciate everything everyone's doing. Just a lot of moving parts right now.
Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, the minutes are great.
Our next committee meeting is Monday, May 3rd at 5 p.m.
Policy. Status.
Action item 1, resolution to abolish policy number 2019, board officers and appointed officials. Resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the policy 2019, board officers and appointed officials be abolished by the Board of Education. I move this.
Seconded by Mr. Malachi.
just to clarify, this is, we've replaced this with an updated policy. So this is no longer relevant.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Yes.
Tanya, can you just refresh my memory, the policy about the student board member?
Yeah, I have been trying to find a time to meet with Ms. Finelli, Mr. Romeo, and Jordan, and unfortunately, they're only available during the day, and I have not been.
Okay.
So I actually have been.
Time's getting sharp.
Yeah, nope, and it's on our radar. We're hoping that we can find a time by the end of this week or early next week so that hopefully we can have something drafted. We have a draft policy. We just want to refine anything and verify. So I'm hoping that I'll have something to bring to the meeting on Monday. But we are meeting more frequently because there are so many items we want to cover. So we had a very productive meeting last week. Next meeting, Monday, the 26th, and we've got a kind of flow chart of the things that we need to get approved in priority order.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on to miscellaneous business. Resolution to elect members to the BOCES board. Would you like to read those, Mr. Malachi?
Action item 1, resolution to elect member to the BOCES board. Resolved, the Rome City School District Board of Education authorizes the clerk to submit and certify its ballot in the name of Douglas Guston of the Canastota Central School District to serve as a member of the Madison Oneida Board of Cooperative Educational Services of the sole supervisory district of Madison and Oneida counties for the term of July 1, 2021 through June 30, 2024 for the seat currently being held by Mr. Douglas Guston of Canastota, New York. The ballot will be submitted to the clerk of the Madison Oneida BOCES on April 21, 2021. I move the resolution.
Moved and seconded by Ms. Davis. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Action item 2, resolution to elect member to the BOCES board. Resolve, the Rome City School District Board of Education authorizes the clerk to submit and certify the ballot in the name of Harold Jarko of the Hamilton Central School District to serve as a member of the Madison Oneida Board of Cooperative Educational Services of the sole supervisory district of Madison and Oneida for the term of July 1, 2021 through June 30, 2024 for the seat currently being held by Mr. Harold Jarko of New York. The ballot will be submitted to the clerk of the Madison Oneida BOCES on April 21, 2021. I move the resolution.
Moved and seconded by Mr. Nash. Any discussion?
I just wanted to say that like Paul Fitz and myself sat in on the annual meeting, and so we heard all three of the gentlemen speak, and he seemed okay to us.
Very good.
Very good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was kind of hard, being via Zoom as opposed to being in person, but they did a good job.
and yeah, their normal in-person meetings are very nice and very
Yeah.
personal.
I bet they are, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3, resolution to elect member to the BOCES board. Resolve, the Rome City School District Board of Education authorizes the clerk to submit and certify its ballot in the name
It's like the 3 people running for the 3 positions.
He's probably talking about
Something
whatever
about
he's
my-
talking about. He's on the delay.
I think he voted aye on the last one. Of the Stockbridge Valley Central School District
Really delightful.
to serve as a member of the Madison and Oneida Board of Cooperative Educational Services of the sole supervisory district of Madison and Oneida counties for the term of July 1, 2021 through June 30, 2024 for the seat currently being held by Mr. Joseph Moncoletto of Munnsville, New York. The ballot will be submitted to the clerk of the Madison and Oneida Board on April 21, 2021. I move the resolution.
Moved and seconded by
Second.
Ms. Davis. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Action item number 4, resolution to award transportation contract. Whereas the Rome City School District, the school district is authorized by section 305, subparagraph 14 of the education law to award a transportation contract through either 1, competitive bidding procedures to the lowest bid, or 2, request for proposals, RFP procedures considering criteria set forth in section 156.12 of the Commissioner's regulations, including but not limited to cost, safety, experience, and driving history. And whereas the school district elected to utilize an RFP process to consider criteria in addition to cost alone in awarding the contracts, such as safety, experience, and driving history, and distributed RFPs for transportation services on or about January 22, 2021 as follows. RFP number 2-02-19-1, General Student Transportation Services Agreement, RFP number 2012-02-19-2, Summer School Student Transportation Services Agreement, and RFP number 2012-02-19-3, Athletic and Field Trip Transportation Services Agreement, hereinafter referred to collectively as the RFPs. Whereafter, following the RFP process, the school district's transportation committee evaluated proposals from 3 transportation vendors in accordance with the scoring criteria set forth in the RFPs and recommended the school district award the contract to the highest scoring vendor, First Student Inc. And whereas in accordance with the recommendation of the school district's transportation committee, the Board of Education wishes to award the contracts for the student transportation services set forth in the RFPs to First Student Inc. Now therefore be it resolved that the board approves award of the RFPs for general student transportation services, summer school student transportation services, and athletic and field trip transportation services to First Student Inc. pursuant to contract terms to be negotiated by legal counsel and approved by the Board of Education. I move the resolution.
Malachi, seconded by Mr. Hagerty.
Okay.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Oh, hang on, we have 2 noes. Karen and
Opposed?
Tanya.
7 yea. Carries. Congratulations. First student.
I think that's everything on the agenda.
Can we thank everybody for all of the work that went into that RFP process from the school district? It was quite a bit. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I think you just did it, Lee. Thank you. Good idea. Old business. Do we have anything under old business other than
Just go back into executive session. I
back in
think.
executive session?
Chicken.
Okay, at some point, Mr. Blake, we're going to discuss the RFP for the redistricting. We can do that in-
It would be on the doctor for tonight. Or we're gonna get to it.
on the executive session. Very good. Good, so it is anticipated that will be a motion to go into executive session, to discuss contract negotiations and
I'll make that.
personnel related matters.
I'll make the motion to go into executive session to discuss contract negotiations and personnel related matters.
Okay, moved by Mr. Malachi and seconded by Ms. Davis.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's not expected that will come out and go back into regular session, right?
Right.
You'll have an email invite on the Google.
You know, we
Charge.
could have been more on top of this and ordered pizza.
Yeah, can
We haven't had a long one in a while.
We can.
Randy's
right around the corner.
I'm not too bad for that, but holy cow,